So it's pretty easy to track rankings, clicks, and traffic with traditional SEO. But in AI-powered search environments, that's not so easy. AEO tools like Profound and Peec AI sort of close the gap as far as providing insight into your brand or business's visibility within AI-generated answers, but they actually serve pretty different team types and use cases. These tools aren't exactly one-to-one in terms of what they offer and how they work, although they do both offer AI visibility insights. That way you can optimize your content strategy for AI search. But I'll take you through what both of these platforms offer, who they're best for, their pros and cons, and also give you a little bit of insight into why these tools are so important, what they actually offer, especially if you're new to getting into AI visibility and sort of understanding how that works and what that means. If you're at all familiar with SEO, some of this will seem somewhat familiar to you, but it is considerably different compared to traditional SEO. So I'm going to talk about AI visibility and what it is. If you're already familiar with this, you might just want to skip ahead to the good stuff. So AEO actually stands for Answer Engine Optimization. And if you've ever worked with search engine optimization, SEO, you're going to be at least a little bit familiar with the concept. While keywords are a staple of SEO, with AEO, you're more concerned with prompts or queries. These are the things that people are actually using to get information in AI-powered search environments. So somebody might hop into ChatGPT and, ask a question like, I need running shoes for trail hiking in the Midwest, or some random thing like that. Most of the prompts with AEO tend to be a little more long tail, because when people are using AI-powered search environments, most of the time they're asking the questions in a more conversational tone. So they're not necessarily looking for best running shoes. They're going to ask about running shoes for trail hiking in the Midwest or whatever. Just as an example. So AEO is really the practice of improving your visibility, specifically within AI-generated answer environments. Now, these can include ChatGPT, Perplexity, Copilot, Google's AI overviews, Claude, basically any AI engine where you can ask a question and get an answer. And this is sort of entirely separate from SEO, although some of the content creation fundamentals do still apply. AI answer engines and large language models don't all work the exact same way. Their primary behavior is focused on the training data, which is the content and data that they were initially trained on to basically learn the English language. It's a large language model, but they also gather their information from live retrieval. And this is getting information from articles, videos, knowledge bases, trusted domains, even product and shopping feeds, depending on what the query is. This is where most of your citations actually come from. Now, answer engines generally favor content that's authoritative, structured, can easily be summarized, but that also gets a lot of human experience. Again, when you're looking for best running shoes for, trails in the Midwest, information from people that have actually used them that way is considered authoritative, at least to a degree, within LLMs and AI-powered search engines. When human experience acts as evidence, that sends a pretty strong signal to AI engines. And it's pretty similar to Google's experience, expertise, authority, and trust framework. Again, if you're familiar with SEO, that'll seem pretty familiar to you now. Reviews and comparisons especially have a high impact when the AI needs human judgment on a certain topic, whether that's, like backpacks that make TSA checkpoints faster, or, whatever the query is. That human experience comes into play. And while it is relatively simple to gain insights into search engine ranking, generative AI answers are a lot harder to track because there's often no click, there's no refer, there's no obvious ranking the same way that there is in SEO. And you don't necessarily get any sort of alert whether you appear in or disappear from AI generated results. And that's where tools like Profound and Peec AI come in. They make that layer measurable. So without them, marketing teams are sort of feeling around in the dark as far as the brand's visibility in those environments goes. Now, good AEO tools will let you know where, when, and how your brand is being mentioned, as well as what prompts are triggering those mentions, the things that people are asking about in the AI-powered search environments. They'll also tell you what your brand sentiment is like, which is can be positive, negative, or neutral, and that's essentially how AI perceives your brand based on the information that it's sourcing and what it's finding out there. Good AEO tools will also show you which competitors are showing up and where, so that kind of helps you to see, what they're ranking for that you might want to rank for, or areas that you want to improve visibility so you can outrank them. They'll also tell you what sources the AI engines are citing, including the types of pages. So they might be citing more editorial for certain topics, more reviews for other queries. Just sort of depends on the given prompt, basically. But a good AEO tool will tell you what those sources are, so you can kind of see what it tends to draw from the most, especially if you're trying to rank for specific best of or versus topics or things of that nature. You might find that reviews for a given topic are cited more often than editorial. All of that's really useful insight. And of course, they'll also show you where your visibility is slipping or gaining over time. And again, that's another metric that you can use to basically incorporate into your strategy where you want to improve, where you want to make sure you're maintaining visibility, and basically any decisions that you need to make in relation to how you're showing up in AI searches. Now, you might be wondering if AEO tools are actually worth it. I'll be very honest, on their own, they're not going to create visibility. You're not going to use a tool and all of a sudden you're going to be ranking for all sorts of queries in, ChatGPT or Perplexity or wherever. But they do give you a lot of valuable insight into what users are actually encountering when they're searching for things in AI-powered environments. And so whether a tool is really worth it depends on how important the monitoring and optimization really is for you. They're also worth it if AI-generated answers drive a lot of brand awareness for your particular industry. They're also worth it if you're ready to act on insights that they provide so you can optimize your existing content or maximize placements and citations, especially if you're in the strategy part of content creation. And of course, if you want to be included in AI systems as a viable option for whatever prompts most relate to your brand or industry, having these insights is really important. Again, they're not magic bullets that are going to guarantee visibility, but they do provide you with the means to understand where you're losing, where you're winning, and where you can gain visibility by sort of course correcting. And I think for a lot of brands and businesses, the cost of not knowing often exceeds the cost of the tool. So we're going to take a deeper look at Profound first, largely because it is the heavier weight of the two. It really does go a lot farther than Peek AI in terms of what it offers. It'll track your brand's presence in AI answers, analyzes how and when AI crawlers interpret your own website content. It also provides demand intelligence, which is sort of like keyword search volume if you're familiar with SEO. And it even provides shopping visibility for e-commerce brands. So it's a much more robust AEO tool compared to Peek. And I think it's really well suited for brands that need to go beyond just basic AI visibility metrics. It's definitely worth its weight, but this is a much heavier platform. So the visibility monitoring with Profound is really what you would expect, and that part actually is very similar to Peek AI. So it tracks where your brand is being mentioned, how and in what context, so you can understand the trends, see citations by page and domain, and then track your competition. For e-commerce brands specifically, it also offers AI shopping visibility, so you can see which products are appearing in shopping specific queries, and what products are driving the most visibility. But again, Profound goes a few steps farther. So it lets you see what real people are asking within AI search environments, specifically the prompts and queries that they're using and how often. Now, you can track prompts in Peek AI, and we'll get to that shortly, but Profound has prompt volumes, which is very similar to search volume for keywords. And this insight really helps content teams, especially, to figure out what topics they should be prioritizing for to improve their visibility. And another thing that is different with Profound is the agent analytics. So this monitors how often AI bots are actually crawling your own site and content, and even which pages are being crawled the most or being ignored. So from a technical standpoint, this helps you to discover areas where crawling is either blocked or underperforming, so any issues on the tech side can be addressed and improved. Finally, and this is another boon for content teams specifically, Profound has tools and templates that help teams to generate new content or optimize existing content. So, and it'll optimize specifically for AI answers. Now, this also gives you an AEO content score, which is a machine learning metric that can predict the likelihood of future citations. It doesn't guarantee them, but again, this is like SEO. There are no 100% guarantees, but it definitely gives you a leg up, especially when you're in the process of either optimizing your content or creating new content specifically to get citations in AI engines. Now, as far as the pros of Profound, the AI tracking visibility is comprehensive. It offers the tracking and monitoring for shopping and e-commerce. The prompt volume metrics, I think, are a huge benefit, but it also offers enterprise-grade security and compliance for large organizations in regulated industries. And again, with the AI bot and crawler analytics and the content generation and optimization tools, it's a very powerful tool set. But that takes us right into the cons. So there is a much higher price point for Profound compared to Peek AI. At the very lowest tier, Profound starts at $99 a month, but that only includes monitoring on ChatGPT. And being as robust as it is, there is a much steeper learning curve and a lengthier initial setup with all of the integrations. So teams will require some technical bandwidth, and it's potentially overkill for smaller teams or startups, especially when they only need basic analytics and insight. Now, Peek AI is a much more straightforward AEO tool that lets you define prompts, although it can suggest them for you. and it'll monitor your visibility, citations, brand sentiment, and your closest competitor's performance. Now, the source and citation metrics in Peek AI will tell you which domains and pages are showing up in AI search environments and how often they're being cited, so you can monitor your positioning and spot trends over time. The sentiment tracking provides insight into the way that AI answers are presenting your brand and whether that's in a positive, a neutral, or even negative light. Especially for brands that really need to steer the narrative in a better direction, this information is really valuable. Peek AI also makes it really easy to compare your positioning against that of your competitors for the same prompts that you're trying to rank for or maintain positioning in. And being able to spot those trends also helps you to optimize your own strategy to overtake them if you need. I think one thing that is especially great about Peek AI is the way that it gets the data that it retrieves. So Peek AI doesn't rely on APIs. Instead, it uses UI-based scrapers that literally go to the search environment, whether that's ChatGPT, Perplexity, Google's AI overviews, and it will get the information basically like a person would. It sort of simulates a real person looking up whatever the prompt is and then seeing what the results are. So this provides the most real world and accurate visibility insights. It's not like an API is just going out there and, gathering data. It's essentially almost like pretending to be a person doing the same thing. So the results that the AI engine is serving are more true to what you or I would experience if we were doing the same. And that really does make a big difference. And having used Peek AI myself, I can attest that the setup is fast and you're tracking visibility in no time. It's really lightweight, and even if you're a complete beginner, it's a very approachable tool. I think it's a really great choice for small teams and even solopreneurs who want to track their AI visibility and optimize their strategy. That said, it is on the basic side, especially compared to a tool like Profound. But I don't think that every business necessarily needs Profound. It really comes down to what you specifically need. So some of the biggest benefits to Peek AI, it's really easy and straightforward, prompt-driven AI visibility tracking with competitor benchmarking. It'll even suggest prompts just to save you guesswork, like especially if you're not really sure what you should be tracking, for your particular industry, it can help you out there. The dashboard is really simple and intuitive with a very clean user interface. And like I said, the setup is very, very quick. It also has a really affordable entry-level tier that tracks ChatGPT, Perplexity, and Google AI overviews. And there's unlimited seats in every plan, so it's great for teams and agencies. That said, there are some cons to consider. Peek lacks the deeper technical insights, including AI crawlers that Profound offers, and you don't have content creation or optimization workflows built in. The lower tiers do have a limit on the number of prompts and answers that you can track every month, and the sentiment signals are a little more basic. And although you start off being able to track ChatGPT, Perplexity, and Google AI overviews, things like Gemini, Claude, and Google AI mode are available with additional fees. Now, if you're trying to decide between Profound and Peek AI, it's really important to look at your team's needs, but also its capabilities, along with what you actually intend to do with the insights that you're gaining. So I think Profound is best if your team needs crawler and indexing visibility. So like if you need to know how AI bots are accessing and interpreting your site, Profound is definitely a good fit. It's also great if you want to optimize specifically for e-commerce and shopping. If you need enterprise level analytics, reporting, and dashboards. And of course, if you have the technical resources for all of the integrations. This is a really strong fit for brands that can answer yes to all of those considerations. I think Peek AI is best if your team wants measurable prompt level insights fast, so you can understand where or why your brand is or isn't showing up in AI spaces. If you care more about citations and competitor benchmarking, if you need predictable pricing with a really easy, lightweight setup, and if your team is small with a pretty limited technical focus. I think especially if your budget or team bandwidth are limited, Peek AI is a great starting point into AI visibility, especially before scaling into a deeper and much more involved platform like Profound later on. And you might be wondering if you should use AEO tools or just hire an agency. Now, there really is no right answer to this question because it depends a lot on what you need, what you're able to do yourself or have your team do, and of course, your budget and timeline. So if you already have content and growth resources in-house, and you can work from insights to create and deploy a strategy that's going to improve your AI visibility, then an AEO tool can be a better option. But hiring an AEO agency like Scale Visible can be a good choice if you lack the in-house AEO expertise. You need help defining a strategy and then following through with the execution. You want to move faster than your in-house content teams can manage while also avoiding missteps. And you want improved visibility, but prefer a more hands-off approach, or you just can't spend your internal team's bandwidth on that initiative. If you only need insights, I think an AEO tool is probably best. If you need strategy and execution that drives results, an agency might be a much better fit. There isn't really a one-size-fits-all AEO tool, only the one that's going to align with your brand's needs, your team size and capabilities, your budget, and your experience. I think Profound really does deliver enterprise-level diagnostics and a lot more depth, while Peek AI delivers beginner level clarity and insights. Like I mentioned, neither tool is going to guarantee AI visibility since the execution is in your hands or an agency's if you go that route. But the right AEO tool can help you avoid strategizing or trying to optimize your content in the dark.